Hello everyone, it is 2024 and I'm here to talk about two weird little Marvel casting rumor announcements things. They are not, I don't think either of them have been officially confirmed by like Marvel. One of them I would say is like more or less confirmed by the actor and like the Hollywood Reporter, like a legit source. The other one has been rumored, but it makes a lot of sense. It sounds like something that is legitimate. So we're going to talk about both of them. But first, we're going to have a lot of exciting news in 2024. A lot of characters, I would assume, getting cast. Fantastic Four among them. But then other characters we don't even know about. So we're going to have that. We're going to have all these movies coming out. So if you want to be updated on all of that, subscribe to this channel, The Nando Cut. And if you're watching this on Nebula, follow The Nando Cut on Nebula. There's that little follow button. Click that. But okay, so the two rumors came around the same time today. I'm going to start with the one that's a little bit more concrete, which is Steven Yeun from Invincible and Minari and The Walking Dead, and also, most notably, for me at least, Nope, one of my favorite movies of the last couple of years, was rumored, and I want to say like in every way, but fully officially confirmed by Marvel, had pretty much confirmed to be playing the Sentry in Marvel's Thunderbolts movie. Now, for people who don't know who the Sentry is, that makes sense because he's important, but he kind of comes and goes. And there's just a new Sentry comic that just came out, so I don't know all the details of that. But basically, Bob Reynolds is a normal man who realizes that he had a life as a Superman-type figure that for whatever reason, he was kind of forced to forget, and everyone has forgotten, but he starts having like flashes of it, and he's like, oh wait, this used to be my whole deal. And then he talks to people, and they remember, and then it turns out he has an evil alter ego, and that is why he made everybody forget about himself. This Sentry has kind of come back and forth, and he's been like this tortured Superman who can't really do anything because he has to keep the Void at bay. Sometimes it's like Shutter Island, where he's like, oh, there's not even a real guy named the Sentry. That's actually just a trick that they're playing on him. And that's where I kind of lose the thread on the Sentry and why he is not a character I love. However, that initial run they did with him was a lot of fun, and he has been used very effectively in some stories. The Dark Avengers used him pretty well. A recent Doctor Strange comic managed to find an interesting place for him. I would say maybe this is the rule of thumb with the Sentry. Outside of his initial series, books about the Sentry are not my favorite. Books with the Sentry can work, and frequently do. Like, the more you focus on him, the more you zero in on exactly what he's doing, then he becomes a little bit less fun, but as a position player, as someone on a team, or as a villain or whatever, he can be pretty interesting. And the way he was originally introduced was Marvel pretty much pretended that this was a superhero that Stan Lee had drawn many, many years ago. Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, I think, had like collaborated on this character, the Sentry. He came even before the Fantastic Four, and then, you know, he just got lost. The paper didn't make it to the publisher or whatever, so that comic never got made, and then everybody moved on. But oh, we found it now, so we're gonna make that comic. And then obviously it turned out that was just a marketing thing, but it was pretty cute. It was clever, and like the way that it told this story of this character who, like, in our universe, like the writers of the comics had forgotten about. In his universe, the other characters in the comics had forgotten about. It was clever. So I'm not going to speculate too much into what role he was going to play, but Bob Reynolds, the Sentry, was going to be in Thunderbolts. It certainly seems like. Again, I believe there was a Variety article that said Steven Yeun was going to be in the MCU, and it did not say in what. It said Sentry was rumored, and then I think Robert Kirkman was like, yeah, I was talking to Steven Yeun, who does Invincible and Walking Dead and all that stuff, and I was like, hey, you're playing the Sentry, right? And he was like, yeah, I'm wearing a blue and yellow suit just like an Invincible, haha. And he like told people that story, and he was like, I don't even care, I'm Robert Kirkman, what's Marvel gonna do? Not give me residuals for Irredeemable Ant-Man? Like, I'm good. So that like is about as good confirmation as you can get without just like seeing an article on Marvel.com. But so it turns out Steven Yeun is not going to play the Sentry. Now, this could be for a bunch of different reasons. My guess is that it is a scheduling thing. Now, I know you see an actor drop out of a Marvel thing right now, and it brings up a certain kind of like, oh, see, you know, the MCU is in a lot of trouble, and, you know, this guy, he's got a really good career, he doesn't want to be associated with that. Well, that is possible. I think still, like, if you're looking at big projects to get involved with in Hollywood, this is still like the safest bet, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, in terms of just like, it will be, you know, a high level of quality, it will probably make money, and there's a very good chance it will be good, right? Like, there's definitely, it's not like there's another very competitive, it's not like he's going to be in, the Oppenheimer franchise. There's no other franchises right now. And I'm not saying he has to be in a franchise, but I am saying like this idea that it's like, oh, the Marvel ship is sinking. It's like, well, maybe the Marvel ship is sinking, but all the other ships are sinking more or at least the same. So I don't think there's that humongous thing where it's like, oh, he's got to get away from Marvel. But anyway, besides that, they rewrote the Thunderbolts and they brought in the creator of Beef, a show that Steven Yeun was excellent on from this year. It was starring Ali Wong and Steven Yeun, and it was about these two people who live very different lives but had this road rage incident, and they kind of both let this anger that was building in them bubble up and got kind of obsessed with each other. It's about how these people that live in these lives are expected to behave and how they really don't want to behave that way, and then what that says about them and society and what they're supposed to do about that. It's a really good show. There was a weird controversy with it, so I understand if people don't want to watch it, but like it was a good, well-written show. So that writer was going to do Thunderbolts. So it was like, oh, awesome. And that explains why Steven Yeun is going to be on this thing. Even if he didn't like the script before, they were like, well, Steven Yeun, you come on, and then we'll also bring the guy from Beef, and he'll be able to absolutely rock this script into something so good that it'll be like, you'll love to be involved. And that guy is still involved as far as we know. So like, I doubt that Marvel handed Steven Yeun a script that is so bad that he would not even do this movie anymore, considering they hired the person who just wrote the best thing Steven Yeun has probably ever been in, besides Nope, to write the script for Thunderbolts. By the way, the person who created Beef's name is Sun Jin, and that person is like a genius. They've worked on a lot of stuff. I love that show Undone, which I think was very interesting. And they also wrote a lot of Sunny. It's Always Sunny, which is one of my favorite shows. So like, if you get a sense for like what Always Sunny and Beef are, the superhero equivalent of that could be very interesting, right? These characters who like don't get any respect and they feel like they should be, the Avengers. John Walker over here, right? Is like, why am I not Captain America? I did everything, I deserved it, and I'm not Captain America, and that sucks, right? Like, that is kind of like the vibe of Beef and definitely the vibe of Always Sunny. So that's why I don't think Steven Yeun left because of script stuff. Now, what does that mean for the Sentry? Because he will probably still be in this movie. Who is our new Bob Reynolds? Well, I think we have a couple of options. One thing I think is important about Bob Reynolds is he is a Superman character, but also he is a normal schlubby guy. That's part of his charm, is he does not appear to be a superhero the whole time. He transforms like Shazam or something like that. And I think when I talked about this in my Henry Cavill fan casting video, I talked about like who could he play in the MCU, and I went over all the Superman characters, and I said, well, that one I don't actually love, because I think Bob Reynolds has to be played by an actor who doesn't look like a superhero. And then we use like Professor Hulk technology to superhero him up. I think it's easier to take a normal looking guy and turn him into Henry Cavill than it is to take a Henry Cavill looking guy and make him look normal, like scrawny Steve Rogers kind of CGI. I don't think that always works. So I think like a guy like Henry Cavill might not be the perfect move there. I think like there are rumors right now that this is the role that Ryan Gosling has talked to Marvel about. I think that would be good. I like Ryan Gosling a lot. I think he's very good at playing complicated characters. I can see a lot of Bob Reynolds in The Nice Guys. I can see a lot of Bob Reynolds in Blade Runner 2049, right? Like a guy at the end of his rope, very relatable, normal guy who either, is wearing a fat suit and then we kind of lose that and then he becomes jacked Ryan Gosling, or we totally just CGI him into like a Henry Cavill body, like make him taller and just bulky as hell. Those are both options. I think Ryan Gosling, if he's up for it, would be great for that role. I think there's other actors in that class, I would say in that age range too, of like where Ryan Gosling is, where Steven Yeun is. There's other actors who I would think could do this. I think you want someone, the main thing with Sentry is he is troubled, right? He has a very like complicated, honestly, like this is the perfect superhero role for Leonardo DiCaprio. He wouldn't do it, and respect to him, like that's up to him. I think he would be perfect for this. This is also the kind of role I could see like an Oscar Isaac working really well in. Obviously he's Moon Knight, but like a guy like that who plays characters who are kind of maybe a little neurotic. Honestly, another actor that would really work here, Pedro Pascal. If he wasn't already on the hook for, you know what, now that I think about it, a lot of the other Reeds could work for this. So, and obviously none of the Reeds have been cast, so maybe they move some guys around. Pedro Pascal could work. And I don't love Pedro Pascal for this, but like Jake Gyllenhaal, he's too jacked right now though. He doesn't look normal. He's lost the relatability thing. It's tricky, the balance you have to strike with a character like this, but I think it can be done. Ryan Gosling is probably a good choice if he is the actor that they are courting. I haven't seen any really good rumors. I've seen a lot of people say that Ryan Gosling said he had a conversation with Marvel recently, but that's as far as they've gone. I'll also say, I think if Steven Yeun couldn't do this because of scheduling, that might have been like a blessing, because I think Steven Yeun is perfect for a lot of these roles, like a lot of superhero movie roles, not because he is a traditional superhero, but because I think he's just a really good actor. And I think he can play, after definitely seeing Beef, like a guy who just doesn't have it together really, really well. I think Steven Yeun would be a fantastic multiple man. Jamie Madrox, like if they ever did the X Factor Investigations run, I think he has the perfect energy for Jamie. Like he's just so all over the place. There's so much chaos in his life. He's really trying to hold everything together, takes himself kind of seriously, can play different kinds of characters. He really is, like, I know a lot of people have, suggested other actors for multiple man, and I think some of them are better than others, but I personally would love to see Steven Yeun in that role. I don't think we're going to get a multiple man thing anytime soon. This is just really wishful thinking, but I think he'd be really good for it. So that's casting news number one. Steven Yeun is out as Sentry. Maybe Ryan Gosling, who knows? There's plenty of people it could be. Ryan Gosling is technically one of the people that it could be. The other casting news I think is a little bit more interesting, as I'm sure we know. I think we talked about it at some point in a video on this channel before. Jonathan Majors is out as Kang. That is something that is big news. Everybody knows that. But the question of what that means for Marvel has been something that's been kind of floating around, right? Is he out as Kang? And also, is Kang out as Kang? Like, are we just not going to do more Kang stuff and replace him with another character? I had a video that just went on YouTube about that. It's like we could phase Kang out over the course of these two movies, or Kang could still be a big player in these, but if he's going to continue to be a big player in these, we got to cast somebody. And it makes sense that they'd have to cast somebody pretty soon, because this guy's going to have to start showing up in stuff, right? Like, he's definitely going to be in Kang Dynasty. I imagine they would probably want to tease him in Fantastic Four or Thunderbolts or something like that. So, we should figure that out now. And there are a lot of actors, pretty much every young black actor has been brought up for this role. And by young, everybody in the same age range as Jonathan Majors. So, John Boyega, for example, a person that 100% does not want to do it. So much respect. Don't do a role like this if you don't want to. And he has been burned by the Disney machine before, so I don't blame him. Then there's other actors. My personal favorite pick for a while has been Lakeith Stanfield, just because I think he's very interesting. I think he has an interesting energy. It wouldn't be exactly what we were doing with Majors, but it would be similar. There are other actors that have come up that some I'm less in love with. John David Washington, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, who, yes, is going to be in Wonder Man, maybe, if that gets made. But at this point, maybe it's smarter to prioritize him as Kang, because he can do that, and maybe get somebody else to play Wonder Man. I don't know. That's up to them. I haven't thought too much about actors that are much older. I think there are some that could definitely do it. Denzel comes up a lot in this conversation, just because he's a terrific actor. He's one of our best living actors. If you don't believe me, I mean, watch anything he's done, but his Macbeth was so good. I think that was really excellent. I know, right? This is me recommending, watch a Denzel Washington movie. He's quite a good actor. But I do think he could be good for this. Doesn't seem like he'd want to do it, but he could. There's Will Smith, another good, older actor. It's scary to think that Will Smith counts as an older actor now, but he's still a person that I always think of as a 25-year-old kid in Fresh Prince, but he's older and he could do it. But the current rumor is that the actor that Marvel is courting for this role is an actor named Coleman Domingo. So the reason he doesn't come up in a lot of these fan casting lists is because he is a little bit older. He's in his 50s. Now, that does not mean, like, obviously, Kang can look like anybody, but he could also be any age because he's a time traveler. So I think that makes complete sense, like having him be a 50-year-old. I guess there's a certain part of it where it's like, they want to get an actor that's very close to Jonathan Majors in like age and maybe even like physicality. So that's an option. Another option, they pick a different guy and pick a different person, different age, whatever. And like, he is a very like imposing figure. He's pretty tall. He's like 6 foot tall. He's mostly known for Fear the Walking Dead, although he's been in many other things. He was in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. He's in the new Color Purple musical that just came out, although I haven't seen that. He's been working for quite a while. He was an actor that I brought up as a potential Apollo for my fan casting The Authority series, partially because he is like an actor in that age range that I was looking for, and it also helps that he is a gay man, so like that is a gay character, and if you want that representation, that would be helpful there. And he's a good actor. You know, I think he could do it. I think it's actually pretty smart to get somebody who is so different but can put together so much of the same menacing energy. Because I think what Jonathan Majors got right about Kang was that he was a genius. He was very smart. He was always in control until he wasn't, but like, he took himself incredibly seriously. Kang is supposed to be like this big threat, one of the smartest characters with all the technology, who knows everything. Like, it is really hard to beat him just because of all these advantages he already has going into a fight. And I think Coleman Domingo could do that. I also think, compared to, say, John Boyega, he has been asked in interviews, not about this specifically, but asked, hey, if you got a call from like Marvel or DC, would you do it? And he's like, yeah, I would. Pretty much, absolutely. Don't even need to see a script, so I would do it. And I think that's a good sign. So I think if they're looking at putting him into this role, and he has already said he would do it for whatever amount of money, that doesn't seem like a huge part of the conversation either. At this point, it's probably a lot of scheduling and a lot of just like how, you know, up for filming 3 movies back to back is he, like, and different performances and silly accents and different hats, whatever, you know, he wants to do with it. But honestly, like, if we're keeping Kang, which it seems like we are, I think we could do much worse than Coleman Domingo. I think it's a tough role to fill because of all of the circumstances around it. And I think Marvel would be pretty excited to put this news out there with an actor that people really like, that is talented, that would be, you know, get you excited about this in the future. Have him do a bunch of interviews, go on TV, talk about how much he loves being Kang and stuff like that, how much he loves Marvel Comics, and like, you know, hype people up for these Avengers movies that we're going to get in like a couple of years, and, you know, get the bad taste of Jonathan Majors out of our mouth, and like last year, Marvel out of our mouth. So, you know, I think Coleman Domingo, solid pick. I'm very happy with it. If that's true, lock it down, you know, sign the contract, Marvel, just get this done so we can have some nice, good news. Also, please cast a Fantastic Four. That would be really nice. So in conclusion, 2024, it's going to be very exciting. We are 2 days in and we've already gotten 2 very big pieces of Marvel casting news. Stick with this channel, subscribe on YouTube, follow me on Nebula, follow me on Twitter, I'm NandoVMovies, and all those platforms, I'm NandoVMovies. That's all I got. I'll see you guys around.